Hi, this is Chana Riley, and I'm going to show you today how to make a rustic bee skep using rope. So I found this rope at Home Depot, back with the rope and chain section. I did speed this video up quite a bit because this was a 45-minute project and no one wants to sit through that. So as you can see, I'm just going to start with the rope. I'm going to coil it and hot glue it together as we go. I'm forming a disc for the bottom, and that's going to give it some stability. A lot of people that make them open because they form them around something else like a bowl. I like this because it's a little more authentic to how they would have done a bee skep, and also it just again gives it a little more stability when it's standing. So here I've got my disc, and I made this one about 9 inches across because I wanted it to be, this one's going to end up pretty big. It's going to be 12 inches tall, 13 with the little loop handle. So you can see I just continued going until I got a nice disc, and I just kept measuring on my board until I got it the size that I wanted it. I went through a lot of hot glue, guys, a lot of glue sticks. So here we go. Now that I've got it the size that I want, I'm going to start moving up onto the top of that last row around the circle and lining that up. And for the first 2 rows, I'm just going to make them straight. So I'm not going to do any curve in or out. I'm just making them line up right on top of each other. And that part wasn't too tricky. It's a little harder to see in the video because I had the camera right over the top. You can see I'm going around, and then I'm just kind of pinching it and holding it, making sure that the glue sticks. The nice thing about these is they really are easy to fix, so if you have a little bit of separation, you just throw a little more hot glue in there. So here we go. We're going to keep going around and around, and now you can see why I sped this up, because this was, good 45 minutes of just circling rope. Okay, so now I've got my first couple layers. This is where I'm going to make a little hole for the opening into the bee skep. Again, I've seen people do it differently. I've seen them, so I'm just cutting it right there, but I've seen them use felt circles on the outside. I like this because they really do look more authentic. I left about a 1-inch gap and then started around again. And for this one, did 2 layers. I didn't want a super big hole. You could do 3 on one that's bigger if you wanted it to be just a little bit wider. But bees are tiny. They don't need a huge opening. So you can see that second layer, just cutting. And then I'm going to start the other one. Again, this is why we sped this up, because I don't have the patience to watch 45 minutes of this either. So here we go. We're going around, more hot glue, staying straight up and down. The thing I kept thinking while I was making this is that you could make baskets this way too. All right, so there's that last little one. I was trimming a little bit here. It was just a little uneven, so I trimmed that. Now that this row is just going right over the top of that hole. And this is going to continue around for a very long time because this is a very large bee skep. I did make some smaller ones. I made them for a friend who is going to the National PTA Convention and representing Utah, where we're from. So she wanted beehive things to put on the table. So I made her 3 that were a little bit smaller. They ended up being about 8 inches, 8 inches high. And those ones, the base, I did 6 inches. They also are a little different shape. Okay, so on this one you can see I'm just now starting, instead of going straight up and down, I'm starting to curve in. So I'm putting the glue a little more on the inside edge and offsetting it just a little bit so it's starting to curve up and give you that dome shape. It's a little bit free form. Again, if you're worried about it, instead of doing the base, you could actually do this and just go around a bowl or a vase or something that had the shape that you wanted, and that would be a little bit easier for beginners. But I liked this because I could control the shape instead of having to do it around another form. So this is where I just kept going and curving it in just a little bit. It does get a little trickier as you get going because the rope has been in a big coil, and so it wants to curve in a little bit more, and so I had to hold it there just a smidge longer to make sure that that glue really set before I kept moving on. because you can see it just wants to curl. It's just curly, like curly hair. My youngest daughter has curly hair and she hates it. She says it's unruly. I think it's gorgeous, of course, but she says it's hard to work with. And after working with this rope, I have a little better understanding of her complaints, because it certainly was a little harder to work with when it wanted to curl. Okay, so I'm just securing that end. You can see I'm holding that for just a little bit longer to make sure it stays. And then I'm going to start with the second one. This larger bee skep took 1.5 of these coils of rope that were each 50 feet, so about 75 feet-ish. I didn't measure out exactly how much of it, but I know that I got this one and a couple more of the smaller ones. So here's where you can see that it's really starting to curve in. You can see the curve and then it's coming in. See, wouldn't that make pretty bowls? I think that would make the prettiest rope accent bowls. I mean, they wouldn't be sturdy. You wouldn't want to put anything major in them, but they'd be really pretty as like a shelf decoration or something. Or you could put a glass bowl in it and put flowers in it. That'd be really pretty too. But you can see I'm starting to really curve that dome in. And there we go, just a little bit more. Keeping it going around the edge. Did I mention this was tedious? This was a long project. 45 minutes of coiling this rope. So it is a little bit time consuming. Now the smaller ones, they only took 20 to 30 minutes. So they were a lot faster than this one. This one was just a really big one. It was my first one that I was making for her, and they ended up being too big for the centerpieces, so I made 3 smaller ones. Okay, so I'm coiling it around. I'm getting really close to the end with that little hole. So what I'm going to do is I cut it, which I cut off a little bit more, and then I just looped that around and tucked it in and hot glued it to make a little loop on the top. And there's the finished little skep. And it was super cute, about 13 inches tall. And this one is a French style, so that one was a little different shape. If you enjoyed this tutorial, please like and share it with your friends, and subscribe to my channel so you can come back and see all of the other fun projects that I'll be doing in the future.